A very warm welcome to all the participants joining us today across India and beyond. I am Sanchita Biswas from Sphere India. I am representing the Division of Knowledge and Capacity Sharing in Sphere India. And I am delighted to welcome you all at the national webinar on the untapped potential of animal welfare in climate action, integrating conservation and community resilience. As climate risk intensifies across ecosystem and the communities, the relationship between the animals, the environment, and the human well-being has become increasingly important. Wildlife and domestic animals are facing rising pressure from habitat loss, heat stress, extreme weather events, and shifting disease pattern. At the same time, animal plays a critical role in maintaining ecosystem balance, supporting rural livelihoods, and contributing to early signals of environmental change. Recognizing the interconnection is essential for strengthening climate adaptation, biodiversity conservation, and community resilience. Before we begin, I request all the participants to kindly write their question in the chat box. We will take them up in after each session, ensuring the reflections and queries are included in the discussion. I also request all the speakers to kindly adhere to the 15-minute limit so that we can keep the flow smooth and ensure space for interaction. We're deeply honored to have distinguished panel of speakers with us today, each bringing the valuable expertise across biodiversity conservation, animal law, policy, and veterinary epidemiology and community resilience. For session one, it is my privilege to introduce our first speaker for session one. Whatever we may learn, the frog has more to teach. Mr. Piyush Sheikh Saria. He is a Delhi based independent development professional who works in the domain of natural disasters and natural resource management. He has done masters in urban architecture from Can you please mute your mic? So he has done masters in urban architecture from Créteil, France, and MPhil in geography from Sorbonne, Paris. Between 2001 and 2006, he worked in West Africa, the Middle East, the Central Asia as an international consultant with Créteil Architecture and Development and Handicap International. Currently based in Delhi, he consults in the field of environment, disaster management, and development. In addition to his consultancy work, Sir has is an accomplished photographer. He held exhibitions at Piramal Gallery, NCPA Mumbai, along with several solo and international group exhibitions. We welcome you, sir. We are delighted to have you, and we look forward to your reflections on understanding biodiversity, wildlife responses to climate shifts, animal clues, including frog and high altitude species, that can help us understand signals and strengthen ecological awareness. Over to you, sir.
Thank you, Sanchita. Thank you, Sphere, for this opportunity. Sanchita, should I play the presentation or will you do it?
I can do it, sir. Wait
Yeah,
one
that'll be
second.
easy, I feel.
Give me a
Thank
second,
you.
please, sir. Just one second I need. Hmm.
Or should I?
No, yes, it's here only. Share. Can you see the screen, sir?
Yeah, if you can now make it
Yes.
wonderful. Thank you. So, good afternoon, everybody. And I think this is a wonderful theme that Sphere has taken up. Much wanted. And I think there are lots of insights. I also look forward to the other speakers. I'm a biodiversity enthusiast. I'm not really a biodiversity specialist by training. And I'm going to talk through a personal experience and things that we see, but sometimes don't really recognize. The title of this talk is Whatever We May Have Learned, the Frog Has More to Teach Us. I've taken it from an article that Dr. Karthik Shankar, who's at the Indian Institute of Science, wrote on bush frogs. And as we go through this talk, I hope I can tell you how the frog actually has much more to teach us than we think it has. Next slide, please.
Mm. 1 second, sir.
Yeah.
Why is it not moving? Yes, yes, please.
Okay. So maybe to give you a bit of a background, India is a global biodiversity powerhouse. Despite we being the most populous nation with 18% of the global population and just 2.4% of the global area, we are a top eight country for biodiversity. We are a top eight country for origin and diversity of crop species, with over 300 wild ancestors and close relatives of cultivated plants that continue to evolve under natural conditions. And we have 12% of the bird species of the world. Similarly, very high percentage of reptiles, mammals, fishes, plants, and amphibians. And we have this phenomena called endemism, where these species are only found in India and nowhere else in the world. And we have a very high level of endemism. And look at the endemism that we show in reptiles and amphibians. It's just phenomenal. It's like 50% of the amphibians that we find in India, 55% are endemic. That is, they're not found anywhere else in the world. And to protect all of this, just 5.3% of our area is actually some form of protection. I won't say a high level of protection, but some level of protection. Next slide, please.
Yes.
Added to which, India has 4 of the 36 global biodiversity hotspots. And when you look at it carefully, it's really very diverse. So the Himalayas on the top, the Indo-Burma, which includes the Andamans and the entire Northeast except Assam, which takes us right into Burma and Southeast Asia. We have Sunda Land, which is the Nicobars, and it's a completely different ecosystem from the rest of the country, and which takes you more to Aceh and parts of Indonesia. And then we have Western Ghats and Sri Lanka. And I'm going to probably talk a little more about Himalaya and Western Ghats in this talk. But these are some exceptional biodiversity hotspots that we have and that are globally recognized for the value they provide to the world. Next slide. A question often comes whether wildlife can predict the weather, whether there's something to look at in the case of wildlife in terms of everyday phenomena. And I don't know, many of you may have heard of this bird called the chatak, the pied cuckoo. And there is a old legend that it carries with it the rain, or it only drinks rainwater, and hence it's a sign that the rain has arrived. So scientists put this to test, and they actually looked at rainfall data over a period of almost 40 years, and they looked at the records of this bird on a citizen science platform called eBird, and they were actually able to map the movement of the monsoon winds, rain-bearing monsoon winds, southwest monsoon, and the movement of the bird. And you can see that the bird is in red spots on the right in the GIF, and it's going really parallel to the um, movement of the monsoon winds. And so they sort of concluded that actually the bird does arrive with the monsoon winds. What the bird, of course, is doing is that it's coming in from southern Africa, crossing the Arabian Sea. And if you look at the illustration on the left, it's the blue dots at the bottom, which it's taking while it's coming into India, because it's taking advantage of the southwest winds, monsoon winds. So it's got advantage of the headwinds. But when it returns to India, when it returns to Africa, it actually flies off the Maharashtra coast and takes advantage of the northeasterly winds, which are currently blowing, and goes to what we basically would describe as Kenya and Somalia. So it's a very interesting phenomena, and it's so dependent on weather conditions. And of course, we know that weather conditions and the phenomena of wind, associated winds and rainfall patterns are changing with climate change. Next slide, please.
Yes.
Now, biodiversity, of course, faces a lot of challenges. And other than typical things that we all are aware of, including habitat loss, invasives, we have a lot of species that were brought into India because they were ornamental in nature, but have actually taken over our system. So lantana is one, water hyacinth, which completely covers our water, lakes and rivers is one. There's of course pollution. And now very properly, you could say, documented and recognized phenomena is climate change. In this image on the right, you can see a Gangetic River dolphin. In the background is a developmental project, a massive bridge that's coming up. And our wildlife has to really live in these kind of very dynamic and changing conditions, which are largely harmful to its survival. Next slide. Now, the rising temperatures, changing rainfall patterns, extreme weather events, etc., are something that we now recognize, I would say, in the last decade or so, more with greater conviction. And these are putting pressures on species that are already threatened by human activities. Here is a photograph taken by a friend of a snow leopard in Ladakh. And I'll talk a little more about the snow leopard and its associated threats in the next slide. Next slide, please. So if you look at the snow leopard, it really inhabits a very unique ecosystem. It's like the roof of the world. The Upper Himalayas, Tibet, and its ranges right into Kyrgyzstan and Mongolia. So it's really the equivalent in some sense of what we may be more easily associating with the Arctic and the polar bear and the melting ice. But it's really the most rarefied. So there's no way for the snow leopard to go. It cannot go further. It's already at the top. So in that sense, we're really looking at species which have specialized to live and thrive in the most rarefied conditions in terms of oxygen, the most difficult terrain, the most difficult conditions in terms of temperature. Um, can we go to the next slide, please? Yeah, so the thing is that it's often a combination of climate change and combined stressors. And just to illustrate this, the combined stressor here for the snow leopard, you can see that it's being attacked by dogs. And at the back of the snow leopard is the fence. Now, what are the combined stressors here? One is, of course, human activity, which is now fencing off and dividing land that was otherwise available to wildlife and humans and their livestock to move. So it's restricting movement. Second is the presence of humans. Availability of easy food has encouraged feral dogs to establish groups. And as temperatures are rising, the conditions are becoming more favorable for certain animals that probably were better adapted to low altitudes. So the range of the snow leopards is now getting invaded by humans, human activities, and also human associated animals like dogs. And these dogs are typically quite aggressive and can even finish off a snow leopard at times. And there have been cases, but typically it's more like harassing the snow leopard, stealing its prey, and things like that. So I also saw a question of whether bee colony collapse can be attributed to climate change. It probably cannot be attributed to climate change alone, but it's a combination of these stressors that actually makes things very difficult. Next slide. Now I'm going to come to this story. So about 2 years back, I was at my place in Pune. I live in Delhi, but my parents live in Pune, so I come fairly often. It was the month of July. I'd come in late night, and I heard this very unusual tick or clicking sort of sound, which I first associated with the tree frog. Tree frogs are small frogs typically found in trees, and they have a very click, click, click kind of call. And I recorded it and sent it to a friend who's a frog specialist. And the next morning, I received a scientific name, Rauchestis ghate. And I searched for it, and it turned out to be the Ghate's bush frog, named after a professor of Girvari College in Pune, and in appreciation for his work on frogs. And interestingly, the frog was only described as a separate species in 2013. So it's a very common frog, but it was mistakenly clubbed with another frog called the Bombay bush frog. And it's in 2013 that Amit Syed, a researcher from Satara, started wondering that there seems to be something different about this frog that he was finding in his backyard from what was the type species, as we call it. Now, it's a very interesting little frog, very cute, at least to my eyes. The adult male is just 2 centimeter long, so it's a little longer than your thumbnail. And the female varies a little. She's little larger, like in most frog species. She's about 30 mm, that's 3 centimeters. Next slide. Now, what is fascinating about these frogs is that you don't really find them close to water. They are found in bushes, and what they typically do is that they lay eggs amongst rocks and leaf litter where there is certain degree of moisture. So it's not that they are completely away from the concept of moisture per se. They need moisture, but they're not really laying their eggs in a pond the way we're typically used to thinking of frog eggs. They are typically in leaf litter, under rocks, in slightly shallow dug burrows of sorts where they lay their eggs. Next slide. And what is interesting is that these frogs, that is the bush frog family, completely skips the tadpole phase. And froglets, just imagine a male frog of 2 centimeters or a female frog of 3 centimeters, and how small and cute that froglet would be, how vulnerable that froglet would be, emerges from the egg. So, this is really a very interesting evolutionary thing that these frogs have achieved is that they have been able to move away from water also because they have skipped the tadpole phase and produce a froglet directly, right? So evolution process perspective, this is a really intelligent species that has created a niche for itself away from competition with other frogs. Next slide. And like scientists do, thankfully, and I'm really grateful to them, Sayyed and Padhe, Professor Padhe from Garware and Sayyed from Satara, made very precise measurements of the frogs during their breeding season, when they were laying eggs, that of the legs, etc., of the eggs. So they found that the body temperature of all frogs was between 17.05 to 17.09 degrees Celsius. Eggs developed at 20 to 22 degrees Celsius. The soil temperatures were 18.07 to 19.05, and the water temperature at these locations was 20 to 20.05. So if you look at, without going into the details, it's really half a degree range within all these functions, where all these important functions are happening, whether it's frog temperature, the temperature at which the eggs developed, the soil and the water temperatures. And just imagine how devastating the impact will be of climate change, where you have rising temperatures, where you have high frequency and intensity of heat waves, rain events, cold waves, that will have on species like the Ghates bush frog, which is commonly found in Pune. If you step out and you keep your ears open and you're slightly outside urban areas, you'll find this very like impressive clicking call that comes from these frogs. And if you look carefully, you may even locate them on the bushes in torchlight. And they're quite fearless in the sense that I think the males are quite desperately trying to find females, so they're not too bothered about human beings approaching them with torches. But not the idea is, of course, not to disturb them. But my point here is that just imagine the kind of impact climate change will have on them. And while we, next slide, please, it's also my last slide. And while we might think that, who's bothered about a frog? Matlab, people are not able to survive. But I think what the frog is telling us, we really have to listen, because what's happening to the frog is also happening to us. And if we are ready to listen to the frog is ready to teach us a lot. I'll end with this. Thank you so much.
Uh, thank you so much, sir, for such an insightful session, opening session, your reflection on biodiversity hotspots, species, cues, species vulnerability, and the value of ecological cues have beautifully set the stage for today's deliberation. Thank you so much, sir. Uh,
Thank you, Sanjita. I see that there's one question. Should I take it?
we can take it in the open discussion, sir, if you
Sure.
don't have any
Sure,
problem,
sure,
sir.
sure. Please. Yeah, let's proceed.
Okay, okay.
Thank you.
Moving forward, Moving forward, we are honored to welcome Dr. Shilpi Das, a veterinary epidemiologist from ADB. Dr. Shilpi Das is a public health professional with over 18 years of experience spanning human and veterinary health systems. She is currently serving as a veterinary epidemiologist with ADB, providing technical support to the Department of Animal Husbandry and Dairying, Government of India, under the Pandemic Fund project on strengthening animal health security for pandemic preparedness and response. She has previously worked with the National Center of Disease Control in the Zoonosis Division, Evidence Action, DBTs, NER, BPMC, and ADRA India, contributing the zoonotic disease control, neglected tropical disease programs, and capacity building and community based public health interventions. She brings strong expertise in One Health program management and intersectoral collaboration to support resilient and integrated health systems. Ma'am, we invite you to share your reflections on climate linked animal health risk, zoonotic and vector borne disease shift, and importance of strengthening One Health and early warning to support the resilience and preparedness. Over to you, ma'am.
Thank you, Sanchita, for the introduction, and also thank you for giving me an opportunity to be part of this platform. I hope I'm audible clearly, Sanchita.
Yes, ma'am. I will share the
Yes,
screen
yes,
so that you
yes.
can. Yes, ma'am.
Yeah,
Give me a second, please. Um, 1 second, ma'am.
sure.
Mm.
Thank you. Even though the screen is not shared, yeah,
Is it visible, ma'am?
it's visible, but not the PPT. I think
The PPT is not
yes, it is.
sharing?
Yes, yes, it's visible now a bit. Now it's not visible
I,
again.
okay, 1 second. 1 second, 1 second. Just give
Sure.
me a second. I guess I'm facing some kind of glitch here. Uh, can you see the screen, ma'am?
Yeah, the screen is visible, but not the PPT.
Yes.
Yes, it is visible now. Okay.
Okay.
Thank you, Sanchita, and thank you, Piyush, as well. It was a very interesting session to understand about the ecosystem of the frog. And as per what Piyush has also said, I would like to stress upon that Vasudeva Kutumbakam. So it is a well-known, you must say, word, a proverb, whatever you say, that the world is a family. No one is alone, but the world is overall a family for everyone. And we have to survive. If at all we have to survive in this world, every species has its own importance. The environment has its own importance. And that is what everything about welfare is to reduce our disease burden. So the topic which I've been given is the untapped potential of animal welfare and climate action, integrating conservation and community resilience. Next slide, please. Okay, so what does animal welfare matter? So when we think about animal welfare, we always think about we know that the Delhi news is out. We are talking about the stray animals. Where will the stray animals, the stray dogs will be there? So that is also one of the animal welfare component. But there are other various deep linked things which are associated with animal welfare, which is often been missed in climate strategies and not thought upon. Basically, when we talk about animal component as such, it should be known that if we have a healthy animal, if we have healthy biodiversity, healthy soil, healthy environment, we reduce emission, we reduce the gas emission, and ultimately we breathe good air, we eat good food, and our next generation also are healthy basically. So it is a cycle which everyone has to understand. Now we are talking about One Health overall, but what is One Health? Even though many may understand, many may not, but it is also one of an important component of disaster management, and it is basically when we talk about One Health, it is animal, human, and environment health, which are interconnected. And why it is important, I mentioned earlier, if there is climate change, if there is no animal welfare, if we are feeding our animals with bad nutrition or poisonous things, plastic bags, ultimately it goes into the bloodstream, and then these animals are only butchered, and then it comes to our bloodstream. So that is what the whole concept is, the cycle is. So basically, good welfare improves immunity and resilience, and also prevents AMR. Many of you must have heard the word AMR. It's antimicrobial resistance, which is something which is very much pressed upon by the government, by various UN agencies, and this is one of an important component of One Health as well. Next slide, please. Okay, so when we talk about AMR, I will start with AMR basically. So when we talk about AMR, it is mostly it's a FAO, which I'm trying to figure it out here, is an FAO AMR action plan, which has been shown here. So in this slide, you can see that what is the connection between all this. So it is increasing stakeholder awareness and engagement to foster change. So it should be there that there is an stakeholder engagement between various departments. Another thing to reduce AMR, antimicrobial resistance, is to strengthen surveillance and research to support evidence-based decision. Now, even though we are talking about AMR, but there is not so much research or not so much surveillance which has been done, and this is what is required, and that is what has been proposed in this action plan by FAO. This is an action plan from 2022 to 26, if I'm not wrong, but this is what the government, the policymakers are trying to strengthen up. The third component is the enabling good practices to prevent infection and control the spread of resistant microbe. Now, under this component, the animal welfare part really comes into good practices. Like the if I'm talking about the cow shed, it should have a good ventilation. That is a animal welfare component as well, a good practice also. Because if the cow shed is good, well ventilated, clean, hygienically maintained, what happens? The milk increases basically. So when the milk increases, then the animal is in less stress basically, and then the milk increases. So ultimately it gives good productivity, good economy to the farmers. That is just one an example which I'm trying to mention. Another thing is, if we are feeding our animals with antibiotic, irrespective there is slight disease or slight feverish, and we just try to so that the animal become productive, we just try to feed the animal antibiotic. Ultimately, the antibiotic which we feed the animal unknowingly or knowingly goes to the bloodstream of that animal. And when the milk the next morning, when we from a diseased animal, if we try, who is having this antibiotic, if we try to have milk from that, so there is a component of that antibiotic into the human body cell as well. So ultimately, what happens for us as a human being, we will have that resistance slowly developing. If we continue to drink that meal, we will have a slow component, we'll have that resistance towards that antibiotic. So that is just an example which I'm trying to set up why good practices reduces can help in reducing the stress, reducing also addressing the animal welfare component, indirectly supporting the human mankind of reducing the microbial resistance or antibiotic resistance. The fourth component is promoting responsible use to keep antimicrobial working. So responsible use, which I mentioned in my previous topic also, like very we have to be careful of using the antibiotic. There are very there in India. India is a country of Ayurveda, and India has ethno-veterinary medicines, lot of ethno-veterinary medicines. There are a lot of pashu sakhis in our system there. So I think promotion should be there to the pashu sakhis, how ethno-veterinary practices can be utilized so that the reduction of the antibiotic can be done and responsible use of medicine can be done. And the last pillar, I must say, is the strengthening governance and allocating resource to accelerate and sustain progress. This is something which is at the policy level, because the government, the policy level, policymakers has to allocate resources and to escalate and to promote this AMR, which it is presently the government is really trying to push, not only in India but across the globe. Towards there are various organizations who are working towards AMR and towards a reduction of disasters in related to animal. Next slide, please. Okay. This is the One Health concept which I already mentioned. It's the environmental health, the animal health, and the human health. I will not go much deeper into things because I have already mentioned if the environment is good, the animal health and the human health is good. For example, when we say, let's talk about Delhi, the pollution, there is a lot of pollution there, resulting in what? The resulting in basically problem in the human being of breathing. There is a lot of lung problem, lung cancers are coming up. In animal clinics also, because I am very much associated with the clinics, we see there are a lot of respiratory distresses which are having in which we are seeing in the animals who are staying in Delhi or in polluted environment. Just this is just an example which I am saying that because of the environment, the human and the animal health is also impacted. And vis-a-vis, if animal health is if there is a bird flu outbreak, what happens? And we, if at all the human component stays very near to bird flu area, then there is high chance that the transmission will also happen to the human. So this One Health concept is what I mentioned in the beginning, is the Vasudeva Kutumba, is like Kutumbakam, is like living together. The world is one. If we stay together healthy, if we stay together, all are interconnected basically. So that is one, in simpler terms, I would say the One Health concept is. Yeah, next slide, please. Okay. So this particular colorful slide, which we have right now, is the National One Health Mission. So there is under the PMO's office, many of you must know, may know that there is a National One Health Mission and various organizations. This is a very unique organization, I must say, because various 16 to 18 organizations, government organizations, are part of this forum basically. And what do they do? Basically, there is integrated disease surveillance. If there is any outbreak in certain areas, there is community, the community should be aware that there is a small area where there is an outbreak. And then the community should be able to give that information to their block level, and then the district level, and then the state level, and then it goes to the central level. So this is a basically disease integrated surveillance system. The government has a mechanism, IDSP we say it, under National Center for Disease Control. There is a mechanism where the reporting of diseases is very fast, so that immediate responses can be taken. The other program, which is the government's under the government stakeholder, is strengthening routine prevention program. There are a lot of routine prevention program, lot of awareness program which are happening at the ground level. And also there is a joint outbreak response, we also known as JOT in short. And basically, if there is an outbreak, suppose influenza outbreak, if we see, if there is an outbreak, then it is not only the human or ICMR or NHM only team doesn't go. The rapid response team consists of both the veterinary sector as well as the human sector. So this is a joint response which has been undertaken at the ground level to understand the cause of the disease. Why this influenza happened? Is this from the pig? Is this from the birds? Is it from the migratory bird? So why, or is it from the wildlife? So it is very important. And if it is from any of this animal, what impact it is bringing to the human sense? So it's a JOT response team which is there, and community disaster management also plays a very crucial role in this particular response team. And the pandemic preparedness, I will talk a little about this in my later slide, because I am working with this pandemic preparedness on human and animal health. But just quickly, I'll just take out some of the names, like Department of Animal Husbandry and Dairying is one of the stakeholder. Department of Pharmaceutical is one, biotechnology, science and technology, then ICAR, CSIR, in fact, DRDO also, the Defense Research and Development Organization, then Ministry of Ayush, state government, Department of Fisheries, Ministry of Science, Earth Science, ICMR. So there are various, and disaster management also. So there are various, in this slide you will see there are various 18 or 19 organizations who are part of this particular mission. And there are national and international partners also who are part of it, which help in public engagement. The G20 and the other forums, like the ADB, Asian Development Bank is engaged, World Bank is engaged, FO is engaged, academic institutions, government institutions, multilateral organizations, and non-government organization, which are one of an integral part of this whole process. Next slide, please. So, briefly, just the components of the pandemic preparedness. What are the basic like component if we talk about? One is the early response mechanism, which I mentioned, the JOT team. If there is an outbreak somewhere at a ground level, it should come instantly at the center level, so that response can be provided instantly. Instead of waiting for the whole lot of pigs to die in a village, it is important that the early response mechanism is very strong. That is what pandemic preparedness is all about. We know about COVID, the recent pandemic which happened, and after that only actually many realize that 70% of the diseases which come are from zoonosis, are from the animal. And COVID is also one of such of the disease which is assumed to be part of, which has come from animals basically. And hence it is important that before any pandemic comes, the strengthening has to be done. So early response mechanism strengthening is being done now in various states. Research and development capabilities has been strengthened. Stockpile of management, like what are requirements should be there if any pandemic outbreak is there. That's important. Improve resource sharing. It is important that if there is any outbreak in Kerala, we always hear about Kerala outbreaks. It is important that Karnataka knows about it, that Assam knows about it. So it's an important resource sharing. How did they respond to that particular outbreak? What were the symptom of that outbreak? So that is an important improved resource sharing. Endemic disease control. So there are certain disease which are endemic to certain areas. So those areas has to be identified. The priority zoonotic disease, the priority disease has to be identified in each state, and disease control mechanism should be established. The coordination and governance, I think that's everyone understand what has to be done. And simplified regulatory system. It shouldn't be a very complicated system. It should be a simplified system, and the government is trying to do their best to simplify the whole process. Next slide, please. Yeah, I think this must be the last slide. It's about the fund, the project which I am associated with, the pandemic fund project. And some of the important component, there is no pandemic as such in India, but through the G20, the pandemic grant, ADB, World Bank, and FAO are implementing this particular project. And the lead is Department of Animal Husbandry and Dairy. And this is not because something is happening now. This is basically we are trying to strengthen the system for future pandemic preparedness. That is what is all about. And it is about augmenting the laboratory systems, surveillance and early warning systems, strengthening capacity and competence of human resource development, data system analytics, risk analysis and risk communication, and cross-cutting gaps in institutional capacity, both national and regional. So these are multiple components of this particular project, which the government is working on. Before closing, I would like to just press upon another thing is like the climate change. Because of the climate change, you will see that there is lot of problems, a lot of increase in vectors also. The mosquito rises during certain change of weather. Certain change of climate, we'll see that one day there is no mosquito, other day if the climate changes, you'll see a lot of mosquitoes happening. So because of the climate change, there is rise of mosquitoes, there is mutation and breeding happening as well, which is causing lot of problem and epidemic also in certain areas. So definitely this topic is very crucial at this stage. And I would like to suggest, last slide please, I think that is my last slide, Sanchita. I would just like to say that in the harmony of animal welfare lies the foundation of One Health. Without animal welfare, One Health will not be, the One Health pillar will not be effective. And to care for them is to secure our collective future. It is important that even though we use the term animal welfare, but indirectly it is a human welfare as well. So let's keep that in mind for our improvement, for our welfare. Let us try to promote the animal welfare as well. Thank you, Sanchita. Sanchita?
Yes, yes. Thank you so much, ma'am, for your such insightful session. I mean, your perspectives on the uh, One Health program, disease ecology, and epidemiological preparedness, provide an essential scientific foundation for linking the welfare to climate resilience. Thank you so much, ma'am. If anybody have any question, they can please write down in the chat box so that we can take it forward in the open discussion session. Thank you so much. Moving forward, we would like to call I'm pleased to welcome our next speaker, Ms. Noyanika Gogoi, Assistant Professor, Asian Law College. She has over 6 years of experience in academia, corporate sector, and international NGOs. She holds a bachelor's and master degrees in law from Guwahati University, and she's pursuing her PhD from Shiv Sagar University in law and public policy. She's previously served as a research associate in India's first animal law center at Nalsad University, and her specialization includes animal law, environmental law, contract law, and criminology. Ms. Gogoi has presented her work at national and international forums and was recognized by the Central Bank of India as one of the top 10 influential women in social work. Ms. Noyanika, we invite you to guide us through the legal policy, and institutional dimensions of aligning animal welfare with climate and DRR frameworks. Thank you. Over to you.
Thank you, ma'am. Am I audible?
Yes, yes, you are audible.
Yes, thank you, Sanchita ma'am. It's a pleasure to be a part of this wonderful session.
Uh, Ma'am, can you unmute yourself once?
Am I audible
Yes,
now?
yes, 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 you are audible.
Okay, okay. So good afternoon to all the esteemed colleagues and participants. And thank you, Team Sphere India, for giving me this opportunity to speak on this important issue. And today I'm here to speak on an important aspect, national framework, legal foundations for integrating animal welfare in climate strategies that remains deeply under-recognized. Yet it is vital for the resilience of our ecosystems, our economy, and our communities at large. And as in this platform already, there are speakers who have spoke about the importance of animals, their enormous role in sustaining India's ecological and socio-economic system. Also, how wildlife supports pollination, seed dispersal, soil regeneration, and carbon storage. Similarly, livestock, which sustain rural livelihoods, contributes to food security and anchors village-level economies. And then our working animals, which continue to support mobility, agriculture, informal labor networks. For example, the buffaloes, the donkeys that are used for labor work. Even our stray animals, which are important part of our community ecosystem. But as we can see, the rising climate changes, yes, which intensify through severe heat waves, floods, habitat degradation, water scarcity, and emergent zoonotic diseases. This interconnection has become even more critical, and their welfare, as ma'am has rightly said, that animal welfare is very important for human welfare. Human welfare is not, it is not possible to achieve without their proper welfare and their improve the conditions of their. So it is very important to focus on the welfare of the animals, and time and again WHO UN has raised the matter, but unfortunately the issue of animal welfare is nowhere mentioned in sustainable development goals, or whenever it comes to climate change, or what are the reasons behind climate change factors. We never talk about emissions that come from the intensive animal agriculture. So it is very important to consider the conditions of the farm animals, especially in the factory farms, because the way they are kept, the way they are raised for the production of meat, for the production of milk, these are the main causes for zoonotic disease. And as ma'am has said about the antimicrobial resistance, so their welfare is very, very important. Unfortunately, animal remains largely invisible in India's mainstream climate policies. And to understand why the integration is very important, we must first begin with India's legal foundations. In our constitution, under Article 21, it is said that right to life, irrespective of the species, coexistence is very important, and right to life with human dignity, and it is for all the animals. And the Prevention of Cruelty to Animals Act 1960, which is the country's primary welfare legislation, it mandates that all animals must be protected from unnecessary pain, suffering, and neglect. And it places a clear responsibility on every person in charge of an animal to provide adequate food, water, and shelter. This responsibilities also become very important during climate-induced events, especially during the heat stress, abandonment, flood, and overcrowded transport. It becomes major risk. When animals are transported from one place to another, they hardly they follow people do follow any rules that are mentioned in the transport rules under Prevention of Cruelty to Animals Act, and animals are transported in a very inhumanly manner. During that transportation, they incurred injuries in their body, so which is direct violation of the laws. Also, the PCA Act has established the Animal Welfare Board of India, which is called as AWBI, and it is an institution responsible for advising the government, inspecting facilities, promoting human practices, and coordinating with the states. Although the PCA Act was not originally drafted with climate changes in mind, its principles of human treatment, protection from cruelty, and prevention of suffering aligns directly with the needs of animals facing climate stress. So it is very important to strengthen and especially to amend the PCA Act, because the PCA the last, it has been decades when the act was amended, and there has been bills after bills to amend the PCA Act. The penalties are very less, and they have not mentioned anything about how to take care of animals during disaster. Many farmers, they depend on their livelihoods, but during flood, during natural disasters, they are unable to take care of the animals, and during that time it should be the initiative of the government in collaboration with NGOs to provide them support by providing fodders, medicines, etc. Similarly, the Wildlife Protection Act 1972, it forms the backbone of India's biodiversity conservation strategy. While its primary focus is protecting wildlife species and their habitats, its relevance to climate action is profound. As climate change alters rainfall patterns, intensifies forest fires, and shifts species distribution, wildlife welfare has become critical conservation now. The WLPA has also established protected areas which regulates under the national and the state wildlife board. So these institutions are very essential for habitat restoration, corridor creation, and climate adaptive wildlife management. So PCA Act and WLPA together can create a foundational legal architecture for integrating welfare and conservation and climate adaptation. Also, it is very important that the National Disaster Management Plan, which is also called as the NDMP, it is one of the few national documents that is explicitly mentioned about animals, but it only includes provisions for livestock evacuation, temporary shelters, feed and fodder distribution, and veterinary care. But NDMP still focuses primarily only on livestock and rarely addresses wildlife concern, companion animals, or urban stray populations. The recent issue that is happening in Delhi, it is it can be solved by proper ABC program, anti-bird control program, and only through that human-animal coexistence can be preserved. Also, during floods, heat waves, cyclones, and forest fires, these groups face immense suffering, yet they remain absent from planning and response protocol. So there we can see that there is a significant gap in NDMP, and that needs to be answered. Also, on the another is the National Action Plan on Climate Change, which contains missions that indirectly supports animal welfare, such as sustainable agriculture, water conservation, and ecological restoration. But again, NAPCC has not explicitly addressed about animal welfare as a component of climate resilience. So these are the missed opportunity, and it is very important through this platform. I would encourage or send this message that it is very important to integrate animal welfare into NAPCC or and also the state action plan on climate change, so that as ma'am has mentioned that if there is any issues of swine flu, bird flu, then all the states together can actively work towards protecting the health conditions of the animals. And it is very important to adopt humane methods of farming, like cage-free farming, free-range farming, because in this way the conditions of the health of the animals will be better. I mean, there will be proper ventilation, proper sun rays, and the conditions of the animal and the product, the eggs, the quality of the eggs, the quality of the milk will improve if the number of animals in the cages are in small numbers. So it is very important here that the Department of Animal Husbandry, Forest Department, municipal bodies, and the disaster management authorities, they work in coordination to respond to this issue. And it is very important, to preserve the wetlands, mangroves, forests, grasslands, because all these are like natural buffers against floods, storms, and droughts. So at the end, I want to say that integrating animal welfare into India's climate and disaster framework is not just optional, it is very essential, as it is mentioned by United Nations about by the WHO. Animals cannot be separated from our climate systems. They are deeply woven into the resilience of ecosystems, agriculture, and community life. And protecting animals, strengthening biodiversity, safeguarding livelihoods, it will not only enhance food security, but will also build a humane, sustainable society. And as the climate crisis intensifies, we must adopt a multi-species resilience. And I'm very happy to share with you all that very renowned organizations like Humane World for Animals India, they are working with the children, with the women of different villages to respond effectively during disasters through fun hands activities. They are building emergency kits, map evacuation routes, and different ways to save animals during disaster. And through by doing this, they are also building compassion, because if children learn this compassion at the school level itself, they will be prepared during any emergency. And also it is very important to integrate animal welfare animal welfare is a subject as a curriculum in the school level, in the college level also. So with this, I end my presentation. Thank you so much.
Uh, Thank you so much, ma'am, for your such insightful and rich legal insights. I mean, your explanation for the national frameworks, opportunities for embedding welfare into climate strategies adds a crucial policy lens to this dialogue. Thank you so much.
Thank you
Again,
so much, ma'am.
telling the speakers if anybody have some question, uh, they can directly write it down to the chat box. We'll take it up in the uh, open discussion session. Thank you so much. Moving forward, finally, with our last session, we are honored to welcome Ms. Divya Gupta, Associate Director, Partnerships and DR Intelligence Seeds. Ms. Divya Gupta is a humanitarian and climate resilience professional with nearly 2 decades of experience in disaster response, emergency coordination, and resilience programming. She serves as the Associate Director, Partnerships and DR Intelligence at SEES, where she leads capacity building, partnerships, and localization initiatives to strengthen community centered disaster preparedness. She has managed multiple major emergency operations since 2004, including Assam floods, tsunami, Gujarat floods, Kashmir earthquake, Nepal earthquake. She is also the co founder of Climate Action Resource Network Asia Pacific and WICCI Gujarat CSR Council, and she has also trained over 12,000 individuals across government, NGOs, and communities. We invite you, ma'am, to highlight the community resilience, focusing on climate, vulnerability of livestock dependent household, gender, and inclusion consideration, climate resilient animal shelter, and importance of multi-stakeholder coordination. Over to you, ma'am.
Thank you, Sanchita. Thank you for the invitation. And I really enjoyed all the colleagues, those who were speaking here. Like Piyush, he's a very good friend. And my daughter also completed his book, Panch Pair Wala Hathi. And really, really beautiful work you guys are doing. I'm very fortunate to have, this association with all of you. So without, wasting of your time, let me start. Sharing my screen. I hope my screen is visible.
Yes, ma'am. It is
Yeah.
clearly
Yeah, so
visible.
I'm switching off my camera so I will get the proper the internet connectivity here. So all colleagues already shared about the technical part of how we can protect our animals. But now, as a civil society organizations, those who are working with government, working with the community, and working with other stakeholders, how civil society organizations can handle this kind of coordination, support, and the integration. So this part I will cover during this session. So the very very important part all the colleagues were telling here ki like when we see animals are not just the livelihood, they are the life. So we have not we should not just see them as a livelihood for the human beings, but they are having life and their life is very important to balancing the ecosystem of our earth, our mother nature. So this is a very important aspect we have to pay attention as per that, not just like a commodity or some kind of assets. They are the life. So we have to keep this always in our mind. They are not just the livelihood, they are the life. And 70% plus rural India families, they are some kind of livelihood, sometimes fully, sometimes partly, is dependent on the livestock and cattle. So they are a very important stakeholder among the community whenever this kind of scenario happened of any disaster or climate impact. And climate shocks hit animals first because they can't protect themselves because they are either they are in a protected area, or they are cannot, their voices are not there, they cannot tell people to save them, and they are not the decision makers. So many times they are putting in an open area, their shelters are not very safe when any disaster hit. So they are the people, those who are like very very unprotected. So how we can protect them from the heat stress? There is a fodder loss also, like recently when I worked in Maharashtra flood, when I visited the area, I found that we are trying to support families with the food, water, shelter kit, hygiene items, but that there was a huge lack of fodder. The reason is people used to use their own lands wastage as a crop fodder for their own animals, but they lost their crop. The entire crop has lost. So from where they will be bringing the fodder? The same time they are out of money, out of livelihood, out of all the commodities. How they can handle bringing the fodder from the outside? And it is not just about the money, it is about the supply chain management also. During the disaster, many times, even if you are having small money in your hand, but there is no place where you can go and buy the fodder for your animals. And diseases, especially this hydrological kind of disaster, especially flood, cyclone, post these emergencies, many types of disease always occurs with the animals. So it is very important to understand their aspect, build the capacity, build the system, so they can cater animal in that way. Loss of animals equal loss of livelihoods, nutrition of for that family because they are getting milk and they are getting meat, and recovery capacity also, and also the life which balances the ecosystem. So animals are not just the livelihood, they are the life. Animal welfare is frontline climate adaptation strategy because like I also completed 21 years in this sector. All the time we see human as a front, but they animals are quite neglected in that way. So as a humanitarian agencies or as a service provider, how we can see them to bring on our attention where other stakeholder also pay attention on the animals welfare. And a climate resilient shelter for the livestock. I give you example from the Bihar. We run a very good project there for last 5 years, where the self-help group women, they were assisted with the creating a very beautiful and very safe kind of shelter for their goats, their cattle. It was little raised platform, so even in the flood situation, these livestock and then these cattle can be saved. And fodder bank, because in case of emergency, at least there is something, some reserved fodder is there, where people without immediate money, they can borrow the fodder, and then in the future they can return in the form of fodder or in the form of money. And assured water access before the disasters, because for the cattle also water is required. In Kutch earthquake, post earthquake, many agencies worked to provide the cattle water, and they created beautiful bodies where animals can get for cattle drinking water. And battery emergency preparedness services, ma'am already covered, so I will not repeat this point, but it is very important part, pre and post both the time. So services, supply of medicines, and reaching those services to the last mile, it is very important. And early warning system and community risk registers, how the time you are going for the preparedness and capacity building before the emergency, how this mapping is important, ki how many livestock are there, how many cattle are there, in case of emergency where you can keep your fodder reserve, and in case you lose your fodder, from where you can buy or borrow the fodder in case of emergency, and where are the services related to veterinary and other services, and where are the medical supplies which you can use during the emergency. So that kind of mapping should be happened very well before the emergencies. And gender responsive safety nets for the women livestock keepers, because there are many projects, many programs like self-help groups are there, MSMEs are there, and in most of the cases in India, women of the family, they used to take care of the cattle and livestock. So if we will engage these women in the animals welfare, it will, their services will be better in a way to reach to the last mile. And integrated animal welfare in DRR planning, whenever we think about the DRR, we think about the anticipation action, we should think about the animal also as a very important stakeholder. And how interagency, when we say, I mean, those who are from the same sector, they know interagency, but those who are not from the sector, interagency is a group, a network where civil society organizations, governments, CSOs, and CSR groups, and many other stakeholders like media, insurance services, and many other stakeholder comes as a group, where they go first, they try to coordinate during the for the preparedness, and in case of emergency they try to gather and try to coordinate for the providing the relief support to the affected community. So this kind of knowledge, this kind of preparedness, we should bring to the IAG level. And IAG worked as a national level, as a sphere, as state level. There are various IAGs. They are working in India. Some are very active, some are little active, but they are trying their level best to reach to the affected community on time. And there is a, I need just 1 minute. Sorry, I'm suffering from the bad throat.
Please take your time,
So
ma'am. Yes.
yeah. So how, I mean, see, for the other services, we are having international standards. We call them sphere standards. At country level also, we are having our very specified relief norms. And in many active states, they are also having their relief norms. But they are not talking much about the animal welfare yet. So we need to advocate, we need to work with the community government directly to ensure how animal welfare related aspects should be added in the relief norms in India, and also in the at the national level. So international level. Already LEGS is working. LEGS is having a very good framework where they talk about the trainings of individuals, humanitarian organizations. They talk about the tools. They talk about the protocols. So I mean, surprisingly, around 2 years back, when I wanted to organize one training, and I was searching how many legs trainers are available in India, you will be surprised to know only 8 people in India are trained on legs. Like 200 plus humanitarian agencies are working in India, and still only 8 people are having the proper legs training. So how we can increase those I mean people, those who are trained, and they can train to the other stakeholders. So this kind of knowledge and information will be among all the stakeholders, and integrate the system in our early warning. Ki, like I give you the example from cyclone Taukte. The time cyclone Taukte happened in Gujarat, many livestock, many cattle, and especially the big trees, mango orchards, they lost their life. Human could be saved, they could be evacuated on time. I mean, there was a huge casualty among humans also, but at least human lives could be saved. But the loss of cattle and livestock's life was huge in numbers. So how during the early warning, the time we are evacuating the community, the time we are doing the preparedness, how we can include the information related to available cattle and livestock is very important. Like resource pooling and
Uh, Ma'am, you are not audible. Are you there? Uh, Ma'am, can you hear us? Hello? Uh, I guess Divya ma'am has got disconnected due to poor network connection.
was a power cut, so I lost the connectivity. Should I start from
Okay,
here,
okay.
Sanchita?
Yes,
Yeah,
yes, ma'am.
yeah,
Yes, ma'am. You
yeah.
can
So
start
sorry,
from
huh?
where. Yes, yes.
Yeah, yeah. So sorry for the interruption.
No,
I
no
lost the
problem, ma'am.
power cut here. Yeah.
No, no problem,
So
ma'am. Please take.
thank you so much. Thank you so much. So it is very important to understand what kind of resources we can utilize. There are programs and policies, there are welfare schemes, but still there is a lack of awareness among the local governance, especially the PRI and other stakeholders, how to utilize those schemes and programs. So first thing, to spread awareness about how to utilize those resources, how to unlock the new funding related to labor welfare, animal welfare. So that level of information and knowledge first we need to inculcate, then it will be utilized in a proper manner. And also community to system bridge. Community, I mean, they are the stakeholders, those who are not having that level of knowledge. So how those services should be should reach to them. So that level of gap we should bridge. And gender and inclusion lens, it is very important, because when we see animals and cattle and livestock, majority of time in Indian, especially in the villages, women and the stakeholder, those who take care of the animals. So if their knowledge and information will be increased in terms of to understand how they can provide the benefit to their animals, it will reach to the more and more animals. And interagency, like evidence advocacy and policy influences are required. Like I told you, Kiran, in relief norms, whether it's a national level relief norm and the state level relief norms, still they need to be very very strengthened in terms of animal welfare. It is still we need to go a mile to bring animal welfare in as a very important aspect here. So I would like to share one case study here, ki like last year in a Ladakh. So sorry, with our one local partner, we try to understand what kind of situation is there among the shepherd community, those who use their cattle for the pashmina production. So they found that because of the late winter, because of the melting of glaciers, because of the many other factors related to cattle, nowadays for last few years their fodder production is decreasing, and because of the production, lack of fodder production, they are losing their animals. There's a huge cattle livestock deaths are happening. So we could connect them with a right kind of support, where we could connect with the fodder supply also, and how they can adapt similar climate to grow more and more fodder in the future. So this kind of small case study we could manage, but definitely there is requirement of huge intervention in this sector. So I would like to close my discussion here, but in case there is any question or any information you want, I'm available here. Thank you,
Uh,
Sanchita, for inviting.
Thank you so much, ma'am, for such grounded and comprehensive insights, especially the case study of Ladakh. Your reflection on inclusion of animals in climate-ready communities and how it is important, and the coordination mechanism at a very important people-centered dimension for today's discussion. Thank you so much, ma'am. Thank you all the distinguished speakers for their insightful reflections today. Your perspectives, from understanding biodiversity and climate signals to exploring legal frameworks, emerging animal health risk, and community driven resilience, have greatly enriched our collective understanding and crucial role which animal welfare plays in climate action. As we move toward the end final segment, we invite the participants to share the reflection and questions or insights may wish to contribute. Feel free to raise your hand or share your thoughts in the chat box so that we can bring you into the discussion. As I can already see the chat box, there was one question in the beginning for Piyush sir by Rina Mukherjee. She has asked that we know bee colonies are collapsing, but is it due to climate change or is it due to the use of pesticides? Over to you, sir.
Thanks for the question. So I think I tried to actually refer to it even while I was speaking, and um, pesticides definitely play a role, but there are also other factors, including changing climate regimes, extreme events, because essentially bee colonies also depend on a very complex web of flowering patterns. So if you look at the rock bees, they actually migrate. So if you are in the city of Bangalore, and you will find that there are these massive beehives that get built more or less at the same location in high rises. These are bee colonies that are actually coming all the way from Coorg for certain seasons, and then they go back. So they are very dependent on weather and climatic conditions, and their migration also matches the patterns of flowering, including coffee flowering and other flowering processes. And in phenology of plants, it has been observed that there has been a shift in flowering patterns of the important sort of trees, whether it's mango or others. So from that perspective, while pesticides are very well known contributor to collapse of bee colonies, there are a number of other reasons why this is happening. And of course, there are people who are far better informed than I am on this particular phenomena because they work on bees and bee colonies. And I'll be happy to put you in touch with a few people from that sector if that interests you. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir. Um Mr. Navdeep Singh from Apida Mitra has said that दिल्ली के अंदर सर्दियाँ में जानवर के लिए सरकार कौन से कदम उठा रही है, because every like due to such intense fog, most of the animals they are facing accidents, and he wants to know whether government is actually doing something or not. Any speaker can reply to this. Hmm. Divya ma'am, would you like to say something?
Related to Delhi?
Yes.
Yeah. So there is some efforts government is making where they created some spaces. So as a citizen, we should also try to try to connect these animals with the those points where sites where government has created space for the animals. I'm more aware about the Gujarat because I'm directly working with Gujarat. Here we are having the animal hostels. So whoever found this kind of animals, they immediately dispatch them to the animal hostels, and they are running very well. They are little outskirts of the city, and they are running very well. I'm not much aware about the Delhi city, but definitely any Delhi colleague can tell more about the Delhi. Thank you.
Thank you so much, ma'am. There is Reena Mukherjee has asked one question to Miss Noynika. She has asked that in many cities we find butchers slaughtering poultry on the roadside. Is there any law to prevent this?
Yes. So who has asked the question?
Miss Reena Mukherjee, she is a senior environmental journalist.
Yes. So, Reena ma'am, yes. So the open slaughtering of animal, it is in violation of Section 11 of the PC Act, Prevention of Cruelty to Animals Act. And animals can be slaughtered only under, registered and approved slaughterhouses. Also, it is in violation of Food and Safety Standard Regulation Act. There are municipal and bylaws as well. So, in case, I mean, this is the awareness which is lacking among the public, or we don't know how to deal with such situations. Only handful of people we do see where they go and do raise these issues about mainly the animal activists and all. But in general, it is a huge public health concern because animals are slaughtered on the roads. Even the animals who are, because these are living animals who can breathe, who have emotional intelligence, and when these animals they are seeing that the other animals are being butchered in front of them, it causes tension and anxiety inside their body, which releases this tension hormones in their body as well, and that affects their overall health condition. So butchering itself is open butchering is illegal. And next time, if you, ma'am, if you do such situations, you can stop you can, you can use laws or you can report that to police.
Thank you so much, ma'am. I, uh, if anybody has some question, they can also raise their hand and share their interventions with the speakers.
And Sanchita, ma'am,
Uh,
I just want to
yes.
add
Sure,
one
sure.
more.
Please do. Please do.
I mean, the previous question that was asked, that what is the condition? I mean, what the
Yes.
people are doing for the welfare of the dogs during the or
Yes.
all other animals during the winter, rather than waiting for some, because rather than waiting for some agencies or NGOs to take initiative, I would say if we all together we can do, I mean individually also, if we can take care of the animals, if we can buy those jackets or contribute, donate it to some local NGOs, that way we can help, to protect them from cold, this harsh cold. So it should be an
Thank you so much,
individual.
ma'am. I absolutely agree to this. Miss Beena, she has said that states like Kerala are demanding central government that amendment should be placed permitting locals to kill wildlife that stray into backyards. I feel there should be clear-cut rules and regulation issued to states regarding this. Uh, any speaker would like to ponder upon this intervention, sir?
I think Noenica would be better placed to talk about this than me.
Yes, yes, ma'am, if you can please talk about. Um,
This should be clear, but Namaste rules and regulation. So ma'am's question is that the state is allowing locals to kill wildlife that
Yes.
stray into backyards. Okay. So yes, I mean in Kerala there are issues of where porcupines are usually seen in the backyards and different wild animals. But definitely, I mean killing wild animals is completely in violation of the wildlife laws.
Well,
Yes. So I mean we cannot take the states in Kerala. The situation unfortunately is a bit different. Even if it is for the stray dogs or for the wildlife animals. But yes, ma'am, it is in violation of the laws.
Also, last question we'll take up, which is by Soumya, and that there are number of garbage dumped across the roadside in urban areas. So animals such as cow and dog, they just roam around to it, and some also consume it. Is there any platform to complain about this to government to remove such garbage and to reduce the spread of diseases and also to improve the health of animals in and around place? Would anybody like to? Divya ma'am, if you can talk about this.
Sanchita, my technical knowledge is very limited in this sector. So sorry.
Uh, Nanika ma'am, if you can ponder upon this a
The
bit.
municipal corporations, they are responsible, right?
Yes.
So the municipal corporations are responsible to clean the garbage. And secondly, it is very important that we as a public do not throw food in the polythene. Yes, that is, I mean, the government will do, but then they have some limitations. But as responsible citizens, we also should have to take the initiative because what we observe that people just wrap food inside the polythene and then they just throw it on the road.
Hmm.
So it is the responsibility of both the government and the public here, and the municipal bodies are responsible. You can complain your the for Noida authority, it will be the Noida Municipal Corporation, right? So
Yes.
yes, or for like for Delhi, it will be a like.
Okay. So I guess that's all the question from the participants' end. So with this, I would like to extend my sincere appreciation to all our distinguished speakers for such thoughtful and deeply enriching contributions. Your reflections on and insights have highlighted that animal welfare is not just a conservation priority, but a vital dimension of climate resilience, public health, community well being. And to all our participants for their active engagement, reflections, and presence throughout the session. Thank you so much. Your collective input have made the dialogue truly meaningful. Today's discussions have highlighted that when animal welfare sits at the heart of climate resilience and climate change, shaping ecosystem stability, influencing public and animal health, strengthening community systems, including the interagency groups, and informing inclusive and risk informed approaches to the climate action. The exchange of knowledge and perspective shared here has reinforced that importance of continued collaboration across the disciplines and sectors. As we move toward the end and the concluding remarks, we invite everyone to remain connected, continued engaging with upcoming initiatives, and carry forward the momentum of today's conversation. We thank you once again for joining us, and we look forward for welcoming the future sessions with you in Sphere India Academy sessions. Thank you so much. Thank you all for joining.
Thank you, Sanchita. Thank you, all the
Thank
speakers
you.
and the
Thank you,
participants.
Thank you.
Sanchita. Thank you so
Thank,
much.
thanks.
Bye.